This week on Angelo's Workbench, we are building the power plant, the 4.6 liter beast for the 97 Mustang Cobra SVT. Stick around. So, on the 97 Mustang Cobra, there has been lots and lots of airbrushing. I've got the interior painted up, just the big colors, the main colors, the saddle and the black. I've got the steel parts, I've got the aluminum parts, I've got the semi-gloss black parts. Get the motor looking pretty cool here. The flat black parts, everything is ready to go. The chassis has been done. It's a 3-color deal there. And I got a little white overspray here from when I did the white. And I'm thinking that that's okay, because I'm thinking that maybe that might be how they did it when they put it together. Who knows? But I'm thinking that that's going to be okay. It'll kind of all blend in when I've got everything else on there. So up next is going to be the clear coat for the body. This has to get clear coated. I have not clear coated it yet. I also have a spoiler. I have a firewall that has to be body color. And then I also have, for some reason it says that the sides of the radiator are body color. So I painted up the radiator. I'll clear coat this and then I'll mask it off and do the radiator after the fact. But, so what I've got to do now is I've got to spray the clear coat. So, I've been spraying aluminum on the wheels and steel and black and all kinds of stuff. And on white is very, very unforgiving. So, I am going to, before I spray any clear coat whatsoever, I am going to thoroughly clean my airbrush. And I've done a video on this before. You can find it on the channel. It's out there. In the how-to, on the how-to playlist, how to thoroughly clean your airbrush. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clean the airbrush because otherwise I'm going to get all kinds of metal flake and maybe some black or maybe some other colors. The saddle maybe is hanging out inside the airbrush. You get one little speck into that clear coat and then guess what? Now it's a speck on your white finish. And this white is looking really, really good. I don't want to mess it up with some paint contamination in the airbrush. So I'm going to go clean my airbrush, and then I'm going to shoot clear coat on this. And then from there, we're going to start assembling the 1997 Mustang Cobra. Stick with me. Okay, we're back. And just off frame, you can't really see here, I'll move the camera. I have all of the parts for the motor ready. They have been painted, so the black parts have been painted black, the aluminum parts have been painted aluminum, etc. What I'm going to do now is some additional detail painting, because some of these parts need just a little bit of detail to bring out some added hidden detail, or maybe there's a certain part that actually needs to be a different color. For example, I'll put my big eyes on here. For example, if you look at this starter, there is a little portion of the starter at the top, which would be the solenoid, and I know that on a lot of those are silver. So I've got my aluminum, my Tamiya XF16 here, and I'm going to get this out. And then I have a very small brush that I like to use. Actually, I have a million of them. And this little guy does a really good job of getting into places that that maybe a toothpick, you know, wouldn't be able to be as effective because the toothpick doesn't hold enough paint. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm just going to do this solenoid a little bit. There we go. And I got a little bit of paint on the starter, but that's okay. We can touch that up. And if the paint only got down into the crevice, a nice little trick when you're touching up black parts is if you get some silver somewhere, a little wash, if the paint only goes down into the little crevice,
a little wash will get rid of that very easily. And I'm just going to paint up this solenoid. There we go. And there. So now we've added a nice little bit of detail to that starter that didn't exist before, because just painting it black and then sticking it on the side of the motor just kind of disappears, right? Because the motor in this case is black, and this goes pretty much right here, you know, and now we've added a nice little tiny bit of detail. And, you know, truth be told, it'll probably never be seen again. But I know it's there. And part of the model building is the fun of detailing all these little parts, adding a little bit of extra, you know, which is why I don't go too crazy with detailing some of this stuff, because you're never going to see it, but at the same time, I know it's there. So I guess it's more like how much I feel like going in depth, but that's why I don't worry about it being perfect. If it's not perfect, chances are you're not going to see it anyway, and I just do as good a job as I can do and move forward, right? To get more kits done. I have a lot of kits to build, so I want to keep these things going. So now I could switch over to the toothpick, and I'm just looking here on the block for anything, and whether or not this was actually silver or not, I don't really care. I think it's going to look good. So here's a little thing here that looks like, and then there's a couple little dots here that I think would look good silver. There we go. Just build a little bit of detail up there. And nothing too crazy. Oh, this side's got a whole bunch of little dots. I don't know what they are. I don't know if they would be silver, but mine are. There you go. And that looks good. Just a little bit of detail. The rest of this is going to be covered with other motor parts. And then just looking at the transmission, you know, there's a couple of things there. Obviously, I won't detail them silver, but there's a couple things I might detail black, you know, and I have the black paint right over here. But right now we're doing silver. So then looking here at the oil pan, we have some bolt heads. And, you know, I think that on black, the silver bolt head looks nice. Now, I know that they would most likely be black, right? Because people don't paint bolt heads unless it's a show car. But hey, the owner of this Mustang painted his bolt heads. I just watched a video over at my man JT's channel. Shout out to JT. He's got a channel called I Need My Garage Time. He's just starting out, and he's down in Texas somewhere. Texas, home of the best barbecue around. And I just love watching his channel. He's got lots of cool stuff going on, and I've kind of been talking to him for a while, and I've watched him grow as a builder. And it's fantastic. But he just posted a 63 Nova wagon that he did that looks really sweet. And then he posted it with a story, and I thought that was great. Like, he's like, oh, this kid, he got it, and it was a leftover. It was a family heirloom, you know, family hand-me-down, and he got it for his 16th birthday. And he's, like, telling the story of the build and why he built it the way he did it. And I think that's fantastic. So my story with this one is the guy painted the bolt heads on that oil pan, you know. JT has more of an imagination than I have, and he spins this fantastic story in the video. Go watch it. Go check it out. It's I Need My Garage Time is him over there, and he's just fantastic, and he does a really good job on some of those kits. It's wonderful to watch. So this one here doesn't really have anything that's going to get painted silver, so I'm just kind of eyeballing all the black parts, saying, what do we have that I can do silver? Now, this one has some things, but I don't know. I think that this is going to stay black. That's going to stay black. So then we have, this is according to the instructions, this part here is, hold on, I'm going to go to the other side. Let's see here. This part here is the power steering pump. And it just said to paint it gloss black, and there's really no detail on this, so that's just going to stay black. But then these little guys here, these guys are going to need some attention, and what these are the ignition modules Now this one, it says it's an ignition module, but it happens to have some type of reservoir attached to it. So I'm going to say that this reservoir has a silver cap. Just to get some visual interest going here. And this is big enough, I should be using the brush, because otherwise it's going to look like it's been glopped on, because it would in fact have been glopped on. There we go. I hear the garbage men outside. I hear the garbage cans banging around. It's been very windy here lately, so it's been hearing that a lot. Lots of things blowing around. It's the change of seasons. Warm weather's coming. So then the ignition module here, I'm not going to do plugs or anything, but sometimes when I get an ignition module or a distributor, sometimes I like to, you know what, just for visual interest, I just dot the ends. And I realize that has no basis in fact or reality, but I like the way it looks. So here I am, I'm dotting the ends. And then now this one here, I can just dot these ends. Boy, they're really beating those garbage cans up pretty good. All right. And there's that. So now the only other thing I've got left to do here as far as detail goes is there is a oil filter here on this. This is the, we're done with the silver for now. So I'll just throw that over there. Just put it wherever. This one here is the, where did it go? It's not here. It's on the other page. The oil filter / cooler is a thing that kind of just looks like that. And there are some hose connections on here, a couple of them. So it's going to be important where we place it. I don't know. I believe it goes right there. And just kind of hang, that can't be. It's right in the way of everything. Let's see here. Let's reconsult the instructions here. Yeah, that's where it goes. That's interesting. So this thing is going to hang right here in the middle. And then it's going to be, if I don't clock this right, this hose isn't going to connect with, so does it go like this? Does it go like this? They don't really tell you, but it does definitely want to be like that. So yeah, I think it goes like that. But this right here is an oil filter. So the housing is black, they say. And then they say the filter is white, but I really don't want a white oil filter. I kind of feel like a blue oil filter. So I'm going to get my blue out, and I'm going to paint that oil filter blue. And I just realized I don't have my blue. I'll be right back. So for my oil filter, I am going to be using Tamiya LP6, which is pure blue. It has that kind of dark blue, like I think a lot of the Motocraft oil filters used to be. I've had some Fords over the years, Mustangs and the like. And I remember some of the Motocraft filters being blue. I might be remembering incorrectly. But either way, this Motocraft filter is going to be blue. So guess what? Somebody makes a blue oil filter somewhere, because I've seen them. And that's what this one is. So I just have to add that disclaimer in. For those of you who like to build models more exacting and with higher levels of detail, and just add that in there so that before you go to the comments, just know that I'm just going to paint it whatever color I want, because that's how I roll. I think everybody who follows me kind of knows, like, I'm just having fun playing with my model cars, you know? And I like some accuracy. Like, I'll go out online and I'll check out the interiors and see how they're supposed to be. And more often, that's because I want the challenge of a multicolor interior. I want the challenge of masking. I want to practice my painting skills. I want to hone my talents. And I want to get better. I had way too much coffee this morning. My hands are very shaky. Got to dial back on that coffee. The doc asked me, you know, I go to the doctor, and he's always like, how much water are you drinking? You know, you're a little dehydrated, whatever. I've been about 90 ounces. He goes, 90 ounces of water? I go, yeah. He goes, there's no way. He goes, is that, how much of that's coffee? I go, 90 ounces. And he says, coffee's not water. I go, yes, it is. It's water filtered through coffee beans. Why is coffee not water? You know, it sounds good enough to me. I like coffee. I have this Yeti 30-ounce bladder buster, and I go through 2 to 3 of those a day, and it's really all I drink. So now per doctor's orders, I'm, you know, working an energy drink or not energy, like a sports drink, like a 0-calorie sports drink, like a Gatorade Zero or a Powerade Zero. So now I'm working that in so that I'm not so dehydrated. According to him, I'm dehydrated. I don't have a dry mouth. I don't feel thirsty. Like if I was dehydrated, you would think you would feel thirsty. But my name does not contain the letters MD at the end. So hey, what the doc says, the doc gets. So now I have a nicely painted blue oil filter here. And now, of course, comes the problem. Where am I going to put it? So I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it in this clamp here. And then I will just set the clamp right there. And now it's drying. Because if I just set it on the workbench, guess what? It touches the workbench and then there's a spot on the oil filter that's not blue. And it will glue itself to the workbench very, very effectively. So that takes care of that. So now we have a couple other things. And I'm going to break out some of my other detailing secret tools. I like to use Sharpie markers. I think Sharpie markers are great. I started using Sharpie markers watching HPI Guy. And some of these Sharpie markers are really quite excellent and leave a very good looking finish. So for example, here are the belt pulleys that I have painted flat black. But the pulleys, you know, need to be a different color. And more often than not, that's a gloss black. So if I just go around on this pulley with a Sharpie, I now have a gloss black pulley with no muss, no fuss. And it looks great. And, you know, I could very easily do it with this. That's very true. But I'm doing good with the Sharpie. And I like it. It's quick, it's efficient, and it dries very quickly. And it gives me, I like the effect it gives. It gives a good result. And there's that. There are a lot of pulleys. So this is a massive serpentine belt. And it's quite likely that something is going to go onto these, like a belt or something, or a fan. Well, you know what? I didn't see a fan, so I don't think so. But even still, I'm just going to detail up the part while I have it in my hand. And then if some of this ends up getting covered, I'm okay with that. Now this guy right here, the tensioner, he kind of looks like he should be silver. So I'm going to get the silver Sharpie out. And I'm just going to kind of touch him up a little bit with the silver. I'm not going to go too crazy because, again, this is something that won't really be seen that easily. But we know it's there, don't we? So I think that looks pretty good. And I could have very easily have done that with the silver paint that I just had out. But I figured I'd give the Sharpie a shot. So then the only other thing that's left is I have here on the front of this motor case, and the pulleys, the fan belt pulleys go here. And I don't really see anything. Like I could pick out these bolts in black, but I picked out all the other bolts in silver. So I think I'll just leave those be. So now this is ready to go to some type of assembly. So let's take a look here. So starting with the engine, and this engine is so cool. This kit is fantastic. So by the way, this is kit. Let me see here. Where's the name of it? I got it here somewhere. Oh, where'd I put it? This is 8231, the 1997 Cobra, and I spilled some water on the thing. It's printed because I didn't have instructions. Kit number 8231, AMT, 1997 Mustang Cobra SVT. This kit is, you know what? I think it's a hidden gem. I'd never heard of this kit before. Nobody talks about this kit. I've never heard anybody rant or rave about this kit. And maybe I'm in for a lot of trouble during the assembly portion. We'll find out. But so far, there's so many very interesting little pieces. Like, look at the heads. The heads build up with several little pieces, which I already did. And now, which one is which? That's a good question. But I've test fitted them before, and they can only go one way. So now these guys are ready to be glued onto the engine block, and they just glue on just like that. And this is quite obviously the other side. You can tell because of the gapping on the head. There we go. And that one lines up perfectly. So that's where that one goes. But it doesn't really want to sit down inside the hole because there's some stuff there. there's some buildup of material, plastic here. So I'm just going to kind of go in with my knife, and I'm just going to kind of whittle some out and see if we can get this head to fit flush a little better. Because if you can't get your parts to fit flush, what ends up happening is you end up with a problem later. So like, okay, this head is only off a minute amount, but that minute amount translates into a minute amount for the next part, and then a minute amount for the next part, and for the next part. And then sooner or later, the hood doesn't fit because you can't get the head to fit onto the block correctly. So this is, yeah, this is interesting here. So I believe, let's see if we can see through the artwork, the picture of, yeah, this is definitely flush. And that one definitely has to go here, I believe. Because then this one has to go here. And then if you get these on incorrectly, what's going to happen is you're going to have the centerpiece not fit correctly because these are notched a certain way for this to go on. So then this would be facing the wrong direction if these are reversed, right? But then there's another little tell that I just discovered right there. There's like a little platform, and I can see that platform resting toward the front. So this one is definitely this side. But I just, wow, I like how that fits. That fits good. So now let's check this side out. How does this side fit? And this side fits well. And there is also a little notch right there for that to fall into. Yeah, so that's quite obviously how it goes. So now we can get some glue going. So let's get some glue going. And again, this I don't deem as a high stress part. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of pressure on these heads. I don't think that they're going to come flying off. So I'm going to just put some glue on. I'm not going to bother stripping the paint because I don't think I need to. Once I glue this in place, it will stick, it will stay, and that'll be that. I'll just give it some time to cure. And I'm just kind of running a little bead around where the head touches the block. And I'm going to spill glue all over the place because that's the way it goes. There we go. And then those guys go just like that. And then it's interesting that the valley here in the center kind of stays the way it is. Because what ends up going is this part ends up going over the top of that. Well, no, according to this, oh, I have already cemented the parts together. So for a second there, I thought I was missing a part, but these two are parts that I glued together already. And then this guy, they just kind of rest right on this little platform with the big tab on one side and the little tab on the other. And that is how this engine goes together. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. I haven't seen a, and then you end up with that big gap in the middle, which is very interesting. It's a cool little motor. The 4.6 liter at the time, according to the instructions, at the time this motor was, all the journalists thought that this was the best thing since sliced bread. It got rave reviews at the time for its performance and size and what it was able to put out, and its drivability. The 4.6 liter was a good motor. A friend of mine had a Mustang with a 4.6 liter in it. His was just a GT. It wasn't a Cobra, but it was pretty cool. It was yellow and black, and he had a license plate on it, yellow jacket. He really liked that car. That was a good car. Didn't go in the snow worth a hoot, as you could imagine, and he did drive it year round. He's a brave fellow. But this is looking pretty good. So I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to let that cure, and then we'll come back and we'll stick some more parts on there. So now we're going to glue some more parts together. We have the front cover here now. That's the next step. Oh, and I just noticed that I forgot to glue the starter and the oil pan on. And I glued the intake on a little soon, but that was because I wanted to. So let's go ahead and let's glue the starter right on here. Get this on here. It was pretty much like that. And I'll get my tweezers going to give me a little bit of an assist here. There we go. Nice. And there's the starter. I like when there's a positive mounting location, some kind of a tab or a pin or something, okay, so that you know that you've got that starter in the right place, so that then maybe it won't, and this is no guarantee, but maybe it won't affect the heads, or the headers, excuse me. So, so now we've got, basically this one big tab that goes in here, and then another tab that goes in there, and that looks all right. So then let's figure out which goes where. So the alternator, it says here, goes up on the top here. And according to the picture, it kind of clocks its way facing down a little bit. And so that's okay. And then there are some nice grooves on there that we'll put a wash on after to make it look a little better. They look pretty cool. But for right now, we're just going to stick this alternator on here. There we go. That looks good. And it'll still be able to be moved when I mount it to here. And then there is an air conditioning compressor here, which appears to go like this. And again, another part that fits okay. It looks good to me. So we'll just dab a little glue on there. That ain't gonna go anywhere. And there we go. There's our AC compressor. And then the whole belt pulley system just kind of mounts, it looks like, into these two holes here. There's a hole here and a hole here. And then we have two, oh, it goes with this point goes up, oriented toward the top, which means that pin goes in that hole, and that pin goes in that hole. And this is already looking very cool. Very cool. And the alternator bracket pretty much went right where it needed to go. That's pretty convenient. So now we have these two little mounting areas here for the ignition modules. And this one goes over here. And it appears to be kind of, like, it doesn't matter which way it goes. It appears to be symmetrical. So there's that. And then we'll take this ignition module and we'll put it right here. Very cool that it has these ignition modules. And by the way, if you're plugging and wiring this, you know, this is where these spark plugs go. And they give you some nice mounting tabs for them. And then the other module has the added reservoir. And that goes facing out. So that means that this guy goes just like that. And then I will just leave him right there. And then this whole piece needs to cure a little bit and then go onto the motor block. But I'm willing to bet that I can put that on the motor block right now. So we're going to mount it up. I'm going to put a little bit of glue right there. And then we're going to take this whole piece here and we're going to mount it just like that. And I'm hoping and praying that it fits. Because I just realized I did not test fit this piece. Oh, and there it goes. Oh, excellent. For the most part, it fits. There we go. Good. Wow, it looks like a very busy place. Look at that. There's so much stuff on the front of that motor. Looks outstanding. I am a fan. One of my ignition modules moved. It's the only danger with working while parts are still a little wet. And why I take breaks periodically to let the glue set up. So that's looking good. The other thing that I forgot from the previous instruction page is the oil pan. So we can go ahead and we can just glue the oil pan on. I'm going to make sure I glue it on correctly. This is a rear, the sump faces toward the rear of the motor. So there goes the oil pan. And again, look how nice those bolt heads look. They just kind of call out the silver. That looks great. That looks great. So there is our oil pan installed. Starter looks good. This is really shaping up to look good. So now we'll just kind of recap. We've done the heads. Obviously, they were put together before paint. We've installed them to the block, the starter, and the oil pan. This step is done. We've completed the belt, the AC compressor, the alternator, the ignition modules onto the front cover. That step is done. We have installed the front cover onto the block. Now, we have also added the intake manifold. I did that in a previous step to line those heads up nicely. So then we just have a few more pieces that can go on here. We have the cam covers, the upper radiator hoses, and then we have the header, the oil filter, cooler. That blue is still curing, so we're going to leave that be for now. And then the intake plenum, which is aluminum. So one of the things that I just noticed looking at this intake plenum is that there's a lot of stuff here. Stuff that can be detailed other colors. Like I see quite a bit here that can be done. So this I'm going to leave silver. This I'm going to leave silver. This stuff here I might change. But I'm not going to go black with it. I don't necessarily think. I think I might do like a gold or a copper color. I think that would look pretty cool. So let's go ahead and, well, this is interesting. I'm having a problem that I've never had before. The cap to my glue has glued itself so that so I can't put the cap on the bottle. And what there is there's a whole bunch of glue down in there. So I'm just going to go down in there with a tweezer. Hey, this is model building. You know what? Sometimes you have to fix something you didn't plan on fixing. So let's see if this will go. There it goes. There we go. That was interesting. So now I have some cool, again, going back to the Sharpie bin, I have a cool metallic gold Sharpie that I think might do the trick on this bad boy right here. And I think that will look great. I don't know what part that is. I don't know if it's supposed to be gold. And you know what? I might do this one gold too. It just adds visual interest if you have a little variation in color. And I don't know, like I said, I didn't look at a reference photo of the motor to see if that would be in fact gold, but I just say, hey, you know what? That would look kind of cool. And if it wasn't gold, maybe it should have been. You know, when they're building cars, I mean, obviously they're not looking at, you know, let's add visual interest under the hood. They're not doing that. They're just saying, hey, this part is the color it is, and that's it. Put it in there. And I am going to do a little bit of black on this. I don't know what this is, but it looks like it would be black. And this part here too. There's enough detail on this with just adding a couple of colors for visual interest. You really take it to the next level. And there you go. So we've added a little bit of detail there. And then I will also go in with a little bit of a wash to bring out that Cobra logo right there. And that will be an amazing transformation, I bet. So I'm just using my Tamiya panel line accent color here, which I am a big fan of. And I'm just going to put a little bit. Let's get a lot less on the brush. There we go. And then see how it just brings that alternator to life. Those little holes are now black. It's an amazing transformation. And then watch what it does to this Cobra logo. Just going to put a little drop in there. Oh, yeah. And now, all of a sudden, you can see all of the little details on that Cobra around it. And it looks good. That looks great. And that's that. So now that part's been detailed and is ready to go. So let's go ahead and let's finish gluing some stuff on. So we're going to go ahead with these cam covers. These guys go, I'm just going to test fit these. which one goes where. So the left cam cover, that is this one, according to this. And we'll just give it a little, oh, look, it goes right on like nothing. Okay, very good. So let's go ahead and glue it on. And it appears that the glue points are around, just basically around the edge. Doesn't get any simpler than that. And then we'll just drop that guy on there. And that is where he goes. I'm just going to kind of straighten him out a little bit. There we go. And then the other one goes over here. And they are shaped so that there's kind of like a little bit of a pitch. You can see it on the side. So then there's that, and we'll put a little bit of glue around this outer edge. Hey, there we go. It's looking good. This motor is great. I love the detail. All the extra parts is just really cool. There we go. And that looks great. So now those are on. And then the other thing that is from the top of the motor is this guy here basically just glues right over that. And he just sits on there just like that. So we can go ahead and we can glue him on. I was thinking about leaving him removable, but then I'm like, well, there's not really any reason. It's not like an air filter like back in the day, where you would like leave the air filter removable so you could see the carburetor. There's not much to see down in there. So that works for me, just like that. And, you know, this motor is really taking shape. So now we can go ahead and we can put on the headers, which are ready to go. And we can, it's going to be interesting to see where this guy goes, this upper radiator hose. Oh, excuse me, no, the crossover radiator tube. It's pointed out to go somewhere in, oh, it actually attaches to the heads. I can see there's 2 mounting locations. Well, that's actually very simple. We'll go ahead and put him on right now. There's 2 mounting locations, one right there and one right there. That's those little flat portions. So now that kind of confirms that we, in fact, installed the heads correctly. So, because they're right where they're supposed to be. And so now I just need to push down on this with a little bit of pressure and get that in there. And I don't want to mar up this flat black paint. That's the thing with flat black paint. You can't really touch it, because then it starts to get shiny or scratched. And there we go. That's that. So that'll kind of just chill there. And then I'll go right to the exhaust headers, which have very positive mounting locations, which is very helpful. On the block, there are some square notches, square holes, and then the header has these square tabs that just kind of insert in, and then your header is mounted, and that will affix in a very positive way because there's lots of pressure, like lots of surface area. But then I always put a little extra glue in the middle, just because why not? And again, I'm not going to strip the paint because these don't typically come off unless you mess with them. And I'm just going to kind of push that header in there because, again, I want it to be oriented correctly so that this will line up correctly with the exhaust. That's always a trick when you're putting this together later. It has to meet up with the exhaust, and sometimes you need to bend the header a little bit, or maybe even remove it and remount it to get it to fit correctly so that it will line up with the exhaust underneath the car. Because when you look under the car, you do want the exhaust to line up with the headers. Now, some kits, it's an impossibility just because of the way they're manufactured. Old kits, you could end up having to re-engineer the whole thing just to make the exhaust line up with the header. And so for that, I say, don't pick the car up, right? That's how I solve it. So now these guys are looking good. And I like the steel color contrast against the aluminum and the black. You can see you got 3 or 4 colors going right there, and then detailing out that solenoid on the starter, was a really good idea as well. So now I'm down to just 2 parts. The part with the oil filter, which is going to go in this tube right there, and this little guy right here, which is the power steering pump, which doesn't look like he has a... Well, I guess maybe he does. Is it right there? I'm just kind of trying to figure out how he gets clocked. It looks like there's like a square part at the top, which is right there. So I think that's how he's drawn. And then they say he just kind of goes in this general vicinity like that. This is kind of where some of the modern Revell kits really shine. They give you a separate picture and they give you a more detailed view of where this goes so that there isn't this question like I'm having right now. And so I think that maybe, perhaps, that is how it goes. Not really sure. This is, there's some kind of a, it does point to like a notch, but I don't see a notch anywhere. And this one goes there, which is right there. This one wants to go up here somewhere. And it would have to go, because that one needs to be kept a further distance away. So let's, you know what? Let's put the oil filter housing in. That's dry enough. And then this will help guide us to the mounting position for... Wow, look at that. That looks great. This will help guide us to the mounting position for this part, because obviously this part now can't get in the way of that part. And this is definitely the power steering pump. So it goes in just like this. Somewhere along there. I think it pretty much goes just like that. Yep, I think so. And then this one kind of just slides up, and they are in very close proximity to one another. Resting right up against each other, which is what I kind of figured how it was going to be. Alright, so let's put some glue in there. I think I've got a pretty good idea how he goes. It's right here and right there. And then just looking at the picture again, that's it right there. That's how he goes, just like that. There. That was kind of tricky. But there it is, it's mounted. The other thing about that is, even if I do have that part clocked incorrectly or whatever, it's on there, it's representing what it's supposed to represent, and it's out of the way. Nothing is going to go there, so it's not going to interfere with anything. So so there is the motor built up. I'll give you a look here. This thing came out awesomely. It's a great 4.6 liter beast from the Mustang Cobra SVT. So come on back for more. That's going to wrap up this week's video. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. All of that stuff helps me out. Also, visit in my description, Hobbynut Models. Go on over there and check them out. Lots of great stuff. You'll be helping Hobbynut Models and my channel. Don't forget also to check me out on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, all under the name Angelo's Workbench. I look forward to seeing you all next week for more on the Cobra.